Hello, my friend. Welcome to Dreamy Nights. I'm so glad you're here in the quiet of the evening. Somewhere beyond the noise of the day, a gentle story is unfolding soft as lamplight behind a curtain and slow as a deep, unhurried breath. In this story, the world is kind, spacious, and calm, wrapped in colors of twilight and whispers of wind in the trees. Here, every sigh of the earth is an invitation to rest, and every fading beam of light leans toward peaceful night. As the day loosens its hold and the sky folds into dusk, a new stillness begins to glow. Tonight's story begins with the sky. At the far edge of a wide open meadow, the sun is sinking, leaving long, gentle strokes of amber across the land. The light is soft, as if it has been carefully filtered through gauze, turning the air a delicate shade of honeyed gold. In the distance, hills roll into one another like waves at rest, their outlines growing softer, less certain as the evening deepens. A faint breeze moves across the field, bending the tall grasses in slow, synchronized waves, the sound of their brushing like a quiet, dry whisper against the earth. Above this stillness, the sky begins to change. The bright tones of day melt into a wash of lavender and rose, then gradually cool into the tender blue that belongs only to twilight. A streak of pale silver appears near the horizon, where the first star is waiting behind a veil of fading light. The air cools by degrees, barely noticeable, like a sigh that lengthens and then disappears. Far off, a bird offers a final call to the closing day, a soft, solitary note that lingers in the open space. Near the center of the meadow, close to a small glass-like pond, a willow tree stands in quiet attendance. Its trunk is sturdy and gentle-shaped by many seasons of wind and rain. Its bark textured with subtle ridges that catch the last light. From its branches, long tendrils of green cascade downward, almost reaching the ground, each slender strand swaying in a barely there rhythm as the evening breeze passes through. The sound of those swaying leaves is soft and layered, like a secret being told again and again, patient and unhurried. The pond at the willow's side holds the reflection of the changing sky. On its surface, the gold of the retreating sun blurs into lilac and dusky blue, the colors slowly blending as if stirred by an invisible hand. From time to time, a tiny circle ripples outward, where a leaf has touched the water or some small creature has brushed the surface. The rings widen and relax, then melt back into the stillness. The scent here is fresh and faintly sweet. Damp earth, crushed green stems, a trace of distant blossoms that have already begun to close for the night. A figure moves slowly through the meadow, following the natural curve of a narrow path that leads toward the willow and the pond. Footsteps press gently into the grass, bending it without hurry, leaving only the smallest impression behind. The figure walks with the ease of someone who has set aside the weight of the day, shoulders softened pace, unhurried. Clothing brushes lightly against the stems, making a soft, rhythmic sound. Each breath taken is deep and easy, drawing in the coolness of the evening air and the subtle fragrance of the approaching water. As the figure draws nearer, the willow's presence seems to deepen. From this distance, the long hanging branches form a kind of living curtain, shifting and rearranging themselves in the breeze. The leaves, slender and tapered, catch what remains of the light, turning it into a fine shimmer that trembles along each tendril. Beneath this green canopy, the ground is shaded and calm, a sheltered circle of soft soil and grass that seems almost to hum with quiet. The tree stands as if it has always stood here, watching countless evenings drift from color into shadow. The figure reaches the edge of the pond and pauses. The surface is smooth, reflecting the willow's trailing branches, like strokes of dark ink across a page of light. A faint, almost inaudible lapping sound meets the shore whenever the slightest breeze sends a breath of movement through the water. The air feels cooler here, touched by the pond's gentle exhalation, carrying with it the delicate scent of damp stone and moss. The figure's gaze lingers on the reflection of the sky where the first star has now become a small, steady point of silver. Stepping carefully, the figure moves closer to the willow, brushing past the first curtain of branches. The leaves tickle against shoulders and arms, light as whispered rain. Each movement through them creates a soft rustling murmur, a sound that folds easily into the natural hush of the meadow. Inside the willow's embrace, the light dims another degree, taking on a muted emerald tone as it filters through the layered leaves. The world outside feels just a little further away, softened and blurred, like a memory already beginning to rest. The ground beneath the tree is cool and forgiving. A thin cushion of fallen leaves and small pale petals mixes with the grass, creating a soft, uneven texture underfoot. The faint scent of earth is stronger here, grounded and reassuring, layered with hints of old bark and the green brightness of crushed stems. The figure takes a place near the base of the trunk, where the roots curve gently outward, like quiet, outstretched arms. Hands brush lightly over the bark, feeling the subtle rise and dip of its lines, the warmth it still holds from the day's sun, slowly giving way to the evening's cool. All around the meadow continues its gentle shift into night. The colors grow deeper, as if someone has turned down the brightness of the world. The sky above the willow, glimpsed through the web of leaves, is now a soft velvety blue, with a few early stars beginning to appear like distant lanterns. Far away, the last bird calls are fading, replaced by the first delicate chirps of night insects tuning themselves to a quieter key. The figure sits in stillness, breathing in rhythm with the subtle motions of the tree. The barely there sway, the patterned rustle, the calm, enduring presence of something rooted and patient. Inside this circle of branches, time feels slower, as if each moment has been gently stretched. The day's pace, with its urgency and sound, belongs to another place entirely. Here, only the softest movements are allowed: a breeze turning the edge of a leaf, a ripple gliding across the pond, a star brightening almost imperceptibly overhead. The air carries the promise of night, cooler, steadier, spacious, wrapping the figure in quiet that feels both vast and intimate. The willow stands as a silent witness to this turning of the day. Its long branches sway in a consistent, measured rhythm that seems older than the meadow itself. The figure, resting against the gentle curve of the trunk, shares that rhythm without needing to try, breath aligning naturally with the tree's slow movement in the breeze. Each inhalation gathers in the scent of earth and water. Each exhalation releases the remaining traces of the day. The heart, once tuned to noise and tempo, begins to settle into the softer pattern of the evening, as the first true darkness begins to gather beyond the meadow's edges. A faint glow remains on the horizon, like a lingering memory of light. It reflects in the pond as a soft band of silver, broken only by the silhouettes of reeds and the occasional glide of a small, unseen creature beneath the surface. The sounds of the world have grown sparse and gentle. The distant murmur of leaves, the quiet chorus of insects, the subtle whisper of air, moving through the willow's cascading strands. All of it blends into a single, continuous hush. The figure closes their eyes, not out of effort, but as a natural response to the unfolding calm. Without sight, the senses lean deeper into the surrounding world. The coolness of the bark against the back, the softness of the ground beneath the delicate brush of hanging leaves against hair and shoulders, the steady, soft music of the evening air all rise in quiet detail. Thoughts once scattered and bright now drift like distant clouds across a darkening sky, noticed and then allowed to dissolve. In this sanctuary of willow and water, the evening finishes its gentle transformation. Day has not vanished, but has simply softened into something deeper, quieter, more spacious. The meadow, the pond, the tree, and the resting figure all seem to breathe as one, joined by the slow, steady pulse of the earth beneath them. And as the last strands of daylight slip completely into the blue of night, the willow's long arms continue to sway in their ancient, patient rhythm, holding the space in a tender, unspoken embrace, a promise of rest that will carry calmly into the next chapter of the night. Night gathers slowly, as if it wishes to be gentle with the meadow. Beyond the willow's curtain of leaves, the last traces of sunset have thinned into a soft, dusky glow that hangs low over the horizon. The sky above has deepened into a velvety indigo, and the first stars shimmer with a quiet, steady light, neither urgent nor bright, but softly present. A faint chill has settled into the air, brushing over skin and fabric like cool silk. The figure beneath the willow inhales the crispness, the scent of damp soil and faint, sweet grass, mingling with the subtle, woody fragrance of the tree's bark. The willow's branches sway with an almost imperceptible motion, as though breathing along with the quiet pulse of the earth. Each slender leaf turns slightly in the breeze, catching hints of starlight along its edges, then releasing it back to the night. The rustle that moves through the canopy is steady and repetitive, a murmured pattern that feels as old as the roots beneath the ground. Within that soft sound, smaller notes hide the faint slide of a branch against another, the whisper of leaves brushing one another's surfaces, the gentle creak of wood settling into the coolness of evening. Near the pond, the air feels different. It is cooler, smoother, infused with the delicate scent of water and stone. The figure shifts slightly, raising one hand to the ground and tracing the texture of the soil beside the trunk. Fingertips meet the contrast of small, dry leaves and patches of damp earth, feeling the grain of tiny pebbles scattered in the mix. The contact is grounding, simple, and unhurried. A quiet reminder that the world beneath remains steady and reliable. Above, the willow's hanging strands frame the pond in loose, moving shapes, like the edges of a curtain stirred by a soft, unseen hand. Beyond the shelter of the branches, a small chorus of nighttime sounds has awakened. Crickets begin their delicate, repetitive song, each note spaced with patient precision. A distant frog offers a low, rounded croak from somewhere near the water's edge. The sounds do not compete. They simply layer themselves over the hush, forming a gentle net of sound that holds the space in place. The figure listens without effort, letting the separate notes merge into a single, continuous background murmur. The air carries a faint hint of wildflowers tucked somewhere in the grass, their fragrance softening as the cool deepens, fading into something barely there and wholly soothing. From within the willow's canopy, the pond is partially hidden, glimpsed through thin openings between the leaves. The figure rises slowly, hands brushing against the ground for balance, feeling the slight give of soil yielding under each movement. Clothing rustles quietly, a muted sound that folds easily into the surrounding night. With gentle steps, they move toward one of the clear gaps in the curtain of branches. fingers lightly parting the green strands. The leaves glide over knuckles and palms, their cool, smooth surfaces marked by a faint trace of moisture where dew has begun to form. The view opens. The pond lies spread out beneath the darkening sky, its surface now a smooth, glass-like expanse of shadow, kissed by scattered silver reflections. Stars shimmer on the water, their shapes slightly blurred, as though the pond is holding them in a kind of tender, shifting memory. A thin line of reeds stands at the far shore, their slender forms outlined in faint contrast against the deeper darkness beyond. Every so often, a small circle of ripples spreads outward from a point in the water where some unseen creature has touched the surface before slipping away again. The sound is barely audible, a soft, rounded tap, then nothing but the quiet sigh of the night. The figure steps closer, the ground underfoot transitioning from soft grass to firmer, cooler earth near the water's edge. Tiny stones press through the soles of their shoes in gentle, irregular patterns. Kneeling, they extend one hand toward the pond, stopping just short of the surface. The air here smells distinctly of water, not strong, but subtly fresh, carrying traces of moss and the faint mineral tang of submerged stone. The fingertips hover above the mirror-like plane, sensing its coolness even without contact. Then slowly, they dip into the water. The surface parts with a delicate, reluctant ease, embracing the fingertips and palms with a sudden, crisp chill. The water is smoother than silk, cool enough to send a slight shiver through the hand, but still gentle in its touch. A ring of ripples spreads out from the contact point, moving in widening circles toward the far edges of the pond. Each circle glimmers for a moment in the faint starlight before dissolving back into stillness. Droplets cling to the skin when the hand lifts free, catching what little light there is, forming tiny luminous beads across each finger. The figure watches them gather and slide, leaving faint cooling trails along the skin. They sit back again, settling at the water's edge with unhurried care. The ground there is cool and slightly damp, the fabric of their clothing pressing softly into the soil and grass. A low, earthy scent rises as the crushed blades release their fragrance, combining with the watery freshness from the pond and the green, woody notes of the willow behind. It is a quiet, layered perfume of night, subtle, natural, and deeply calming. The figure's hands rest loosely on their legs, fingers relaxed, palms open, as if receptive to the stillness settling all around. Behind them, the willow continues its slow movement, branches drifting like long, sleepy sighs in the breeze. Some of the hanging strands reach close enough to brush the figure's shoulders and the back of their neck, creating a gentle, intermittent touch that feels almost like a soft, leafy shawl being gently adjusted. Each touch is whispered brief and soothing. The coolness of the leaves, a tender contrast to the warmth of skin. The figure leans subtly into that touch, not out of need, but as a natural response to comfort when it is quietly offered. In the deepening dark, the meadow itself seems to recede, drawing its edges inward so that only the willow, the pond, and the immediate circle of cool earth remain vivid. Details that were clear in the twilight now fade into suggestion. The distant hills become gentle shadows. The horizon is a soft, indistinct line. Even the sky, though still scattered with stars, feels closer, as if leaning down toward the quiet clearing. The figure's breathing matches this narrowing focus, lengthening into slow, unforced inhales and unhurried exhales that seem to blend into the night's broader rhythm. A faint glow begins to flicker at the margin of vision, not from the sky, but from the low air near the grass. One by one, tiny points of light appear and fade, blinking softly in irregular intervals. Fireflies drift into the space around the willow, their small lanterns turning on and off, with no urgency, moving in gentle floating arcs. Their light is warm and delicate, a pale greenish gold that glows and then dissolves into the darkness, leaving brief trails of after-image in the eyes. The pond catches these glimmers, mirroring their soft dance across its surface in elongated, wavering reflections. The figure watches this quiet constellation form at ground level, feeling the subtle awe that arises not from grandeur, but from the understated beauty of simple things. Each firefly's glow feels like a tiny, patient heartbeat of the night pulsing at its own slow tempo. There is no pattern, no rush to their movement, only a meandering, drifting flow that matches the gentleness of the willow's branches and the steady presence of the pond. The air around them holds a faint hint of sweetness now, as though the flowers hidden in the grass have surrendered their last traces of fragrance to the cool, open darkness. The figure brings their hands together loosely, feeling the residual dampness from the pond on their skin, now warmed again by the air and the comfort of rest. Fingers curl and uncurl with calm deliberation, tracing the sensations. Coolness, fading warmth, returning skin, stretching and relaxing. In these small tactile details, the mind finds a quiet place to settle. Thoughts that once wandered, carrying remnants of the day's concerns, grow dim and distant, losing their shape and intensity. In their place remains only the immediacy of night, the sound of the willow's rustle, the gentle chorus of crickets, the soft intermittent glow of floating lights, and the steady hush of water resting in its basin of earth. The willow, the pond, the meadow, and the figure form a single serene tableau, as if painted in shades of deep blue and soft silver with faint strokes of gold drifting where the fireflies pass. Everything seems configured toward ease, every movement slow and forgiving. The night wraps itself around this quiet scene not as a curtain closing, but as a blanket being drawn up to the shoulders with careful, loving hands. And there, at the edge of the water beneath the willow's long sheltering branches, the figure remains in stillness, breath in rhythm, with the tree heart in rhythm, with the soft pulse of the pond. As the night continues to deepen, calm and unbroken, ready to carry this gentle peace into the next quieter chapter of the story. The night now feels complete, not dark, but deep, as though the air itself has softened into something tangible and kind. Beneath the willow's long flowing branches, the world has slowed to a perfect stillness. Each sound is deliberate patient. The faint ripple of water touching the shore, the almost imperceptible sigh of the wind threading through the leaves. Somewhere far beyond the meadow, an owl calls once low and resonant, then falls silent again, as if even its voice wishes not to disturb the calm. The figure remains seated near the pond's edge, back resting lightly against one of the willow's great roots. The bark is rough but not uncomfortable, its texture a steady reminder of the earth's enduring presence. The air moves gently, brushing against skin like cool breath. The scent of the night has deepened water and moss, mingling with the faint sweetness of grass, the clean aroma of open air. It feels familiar, ancient, and safe. The willow moves as though in slow conversation with the wind. Each sweeping branch traces an arc that catches faint starlight before falling again into shadow. The leaves make a low whispering sound, not quite words, not quite song, a continuous murmur that drifts between rhythm and silence. Within that soft rustle, the mind finds comfort, the kind that asks nothing and promises everything. Rest, release, belonging, go. A new light joins the fireflies' quiet dance. The moon has risen. It climbs slowly above the horizon, pale and luminous, its reflection forming a silver path across the pond. The water glows softly where the moonlight falls smooth and unbroken, as though brushed with a thin layer of pearl. The figure lifts their gaze toward it, eyes following the shimmer until the line of light fades into the distant reeds. In this glow, everything takes on a different tone. The willow's branches appear to gleam from within. The grass shimmers faintly, and the air seems filled with a delicate mist of silver dust. The moonlight filters through the willow's canopy, breaking into fragments that drift downward like slow-moving droplets of light. Each fragment lands somewhere on the pond's surface, on the curve of a root, on the figure's resting hand, and remains there, trembling faintly. The leaves catch some of that glow, and release it in motion, a slow dance of brightness and shadow. The figure closes their eyes for a moment, feeling the gentle weight of this luminescence settle on their skin like cool silk laid over warmth. From within this tender light, a thought rises quiet and unhurried that perhaps the willow has watched countless nights like this. Perhaps its roots remember every breeze that has brushed across the meadow, every ripple that has moved across the pond, every creature that has sought shelter under its arms. There is a kind of wisdom in stillness, not in knowing, but in allowing. The tree does not grasp at the night. It simply sways with it, content to exist within the slow breath of the world. The figure breathes in deeply, mirroring that rhythm. Each inhale fills the lungs with the cool scent of water and bark. Each exhale drifts out in soft surrender. The body, once shaped by the motions of the day, now belongs wholly to the night's calm shoulders, loose chest, steady mind suspended in the present. The moon's glow becomes a quiet companion, resting across the figure's features, tracing the gentle rise and fall of breath. A few fallen leaves float across the pond's surface. They move slowly, carried by invisible ripples, their reflections glowing faintly beneath them. One drifts near the shore where the figure sits. With slow, deliberate care, the figure reaches out, letting fingertips graze the water just enough to nudge the leaf forward. It glides away unhurried, leaving behind a faint circular motion that expands outward, meets the moon's reflection, and disappears into the larger stillness. For a long moment, nothing else moves. Even the air seems to hold its breath. Only the distant hum of crickets continues, and the occasional sigh of the wind through the grass. The willow stands in quiet watchfulness, its roots stretching deep, its branches hanging low, in a gesture that feels almost like embrace. The figure's gaze turns upward again. Through the spaces between the branches, constellations reveal themselves, familiar shapes traced across the dark. Each star is a pinprick of calm fire, steady and distant. Their light has traveled across unimaginable time to arrive here in this tranquil meadow, in this singular night. And yet, there is no urgency in their glow. They simply exist, patient, unblinking, eternal. The reflection of those stars on the pond mirrors that stillness perfectly. Each point of light on the surface trembles slightly, not from restlessness, but from the subtle movement of life below the faint ripple of unseen fish, the quiet breath of water adjusting to the cool night air. Everything here, above and below, shares the same pulse, slow, infinite, tender. The figure leans back fully against the willow, now feeling the strength of the trunk support their weight. The bark is firm, yet welcoming its surface, uneven but alive with warmth. The earth beneath feels cool and solid, pressing upward in gentle reassurance. The branches above sway again, releasing a faint rain of tiny droplets gathered from dew. A few land softly on the figure's face, cold and perfect, vanishing almost at once into warmth. A sense of gratitude arises, not directed, not deliberate, but spreading naturally like warmth from a quiet flame. Gratitude for the night, for stillness, for the sound of water and the breath of leaves, for the gentle presence of something greater yet familiar. The figure closes their eyes once more, letting this feeling settle deeper until it becomes indistinguishable from rest. The willow's branches continue their slow rhythm, swaying as though cradling the very air. The moon climbs higher, pale and constant, its light tracing the shapes of roots and leaves with infinite patience. Around the pond, the fireflies move more slowly, now their lights dimming as the cool deepens. A light mist begins to rise from the water's surface, gathering in soft ribbons that drift toward the tree. In this mist, the world seems to dissolve at its edges. The meadow beyond fades into suggestion. The distant hills disappear altogether. What remains is only this: the willow, the pond, the moon, and the gentle figure at rest. The boundaries between them blur until all feel like facets of a single breathing presence. The willow's rustle becomes the sound of the figure's breath. The pond's quiet becomes the rhythm of their heartbeat. This unity does not arrive suddenly. It unfolds like the soft opening of a flower at night, slow, subtle, inevitable. It is the moment the world remembers itself as one whole without separation or demand. Here, within this tender silence, sleep begins not as escape, but as belonging. And so beneath the willow's luminous branches and the patient gaze of the moon, the figure drifts into a state beyond thought. Not asleep yet, but hovering close to its edge, where the body feels weightless and the mind quiets to a hum. The night holds them as the willow has held so many before, steady, gentle, eternal. The story breathes slower now, ready to slip further into stillness, deeper into the dream. The night has reached its quiet heart, a place where time seems to dissolve into breath. The moon now stands high above the meadow, casting its silver calm across the land. Its light gathers on the pond in a soft shimmering pool that looks almost alive, as though the water itself were breathing in rhythm with the sky. The willow, bathed in this pale glow, appears both ethereal and ancient, its branches glowing faintly at the edges, its shadow stretching long and patient across the ground. The air has cooled. Each inhalation feels crisp and clean, touched with the faint scent of dew forming on grass. The fragrance of the earth has deepened, damp mineral full of quiet life. The soundscape of the meadow has grown more delicate. The crickets hum in softer tones. Now the frogs have stilled their song, and only the rhythmic rustle of the willow's leaves continues steady as a heartbeat. The figure beneath the willow shifts slightly, moving closer to the trunk. The bark feels cooler now, textured and strong beneath the touch. Hands rest lightly against it, tracing small patterns in its ridges, as though listening for the story of its years. Within the stillness, a realization unfolds that everything around holds memory. The soil remembers rain. The air remembers dawn. The willow remembers every quiet night it has lived through. Even the pond remembers each ripple that has ever crossed its surface. There is peace in that continuity, a comfort in knowing that stillness is not emptiness but accumulation, a soft layering of all that has been. The figure lowers their gaze toward the pond again. Moonlight ripples gently across the surface, broken by the soft movement of the willow's reflections. A single leaf detaches from a high branch and begins its descent. It twirls slowly as it falls, catching threads of light, its shadow gliding along the pond below. It lands soundlessly upon the water, creating a delicate ripple that moves outward in slow, widening circles. The circles expand, overlap, fade, a brief pattern in motion that soon returns to stillness. It feels like a message from the tree itself, that letting go is both simple and beautiful. A soft mist continues to rise from the pond. It drifts around the willow's roots, curling in thin, ghostly tendrils before dissipating into the air. The moisture gathers on the figure's clothing, tiny beads of dew catching the moonlight like faint silver dust. Each droplet holds its own reflection, a miniature version of the glowing world above. When the figure raises a hand, the droplets tremble there, small and bright, before melting into the warmth of skin. This simple act, watching water become light become warmth, feels like a quiet miracle. The willow sways again, its motion steady and graceful. The figure listens. With each sway, a different note emerges from the leaves, a shiver of silk, a sigh of velvet, a faint, rhythmic hush. The pattern becomes hypnotic, a wordless language spoken only in tone and breath. It fills the air with something that feels almost musical, though there is no melody. Only movement, the sound of the world exhaling. Each wave of sound seems to wash gently over the figure, carrying away the remnants of thought. The mind, softened by rhythm, begins to drift deeper, unburdened and still. Somewhere in the distance, a night breeze travels across the meadow, bending the tall grasses in long, slow ripples. It reaches the willow as a whisper, a barely there gust that moves through the hanging leaves in a single sweeping gesture. For a moment, the entire canopy shivers, then settles again into perfect grace. The sound is soft but immense, as though the night itself had taken a breath. And in that brief breath, something shifts. The figure feels not separate from the willow, nor from the pond, nor even from the air, but part of a single vast stillness, expanding and contracting in time with the living world. The sensation is quiet and complete, like floating. The body grounded against the tree's trunk begins to lose its weight. Each heartbeat slows. The air feels heavier, now more saturated, as if it carries both warmth and silence together. Even sound becomes softer, the cricket's rhythm blending into a distant hum, the rustling of leaves merging into the slow rhythm of breath. There are no edges anymore between the figure and the night, between earth and sky, between presence and dream. Moonlight filters down in narrow beams through the willow's branches. Dust-like particles shimmer where the light touches them, creating faint trails that move as though in slow motion. The figure watches these floating fragments, each one glinting briefly before fading. They drift upward, carried by the faintest movement of air, merging with the mist, dissolving into the vastness. It feels as though everything is ascending, light mist breath, thought leaving only calm behind. The figure closes their eyes again. Within the darkness behind the eyelids, light still flickers, faintly impressions of stars, branches, water. Each image appears, softens, then fades. A single thought glides through. Everything is meant to rest. And with that, the muscles loosen further, shoulders drop, the jaw unclenches, and even the pulse begins to match the night's unhurried pace. Stillness deepens into something sacred. The willow continues to breathe with the breeze. Its long tendrils drift across the figure's arms and shoulders, cool and soft as the touch of flowing water. It feels like an embrace, wordless, protective, endlessly patient. The tree's presence seems to hum quietly through the air, a vibration felt more than heard, resonating deep within the chest. It is the lullaby of the earth itself, a reminder that rest is not the absence of motion, but its gentlest form. A few fireflies return their light dimmer, now slower. They move lazily among the roots, hovering just above the dew-bright grass. Each glow lasts longer than before, holding steady for several seconds before fading to nothing. The figure watches the rise and fall of this faint illumination. Each pulse of light, a soft heartbeat in the vast dark. It feels like the closing rhythm of the night, a quiet pulse leading towards sleep. The pond, too, reflects this calm. Its surface, once shimmering, is now glassy, unmoving. The moon's reflection has grown sharper, a perfect mirror of the sky above. The willow's silhouette frames the edges its branches like brushstrokes painted in silver ink. No sound disturbs this symmetry. Even the wind seems to pause, allowing the world to remain perfectly balanced for one suspended moment. And in that balance, the figure beneath the willow drifts further inward. Breath steady, thoughts distant, heart attuned to the earth's deep rhythm. Every sensation is softened, every boundary blurred. The willow leans slightly closer in its eternal motion, as though keeping quiet watch. Above the stars shimmer, below their reflections shimmer back. Between them lies the pond, between sky and earth, between waking and sleep. The story settles into stillness. Now the pace of the world slowed to the rhythm of a dream beginning to form. Everything remains, yet everything is ready to rest. The moon lingers high in the sky, unblinking and serene. Its pale light drapes over the meadow like a silken veil, softening every shape it touches. The willow, with its long sweeping arms, glows faintly beneath it. A living sculpture, carved from moonlight and motion. The pond reflects it all perfectly. The tree's bowed silhouette, the shimmer of starlight, the slow drift of mist rising like breath from the earth. Each reflection ripples slightly, not from disturbance, but from the quiet pulse of life itself, the rhythm of air, water, and time. The figure remains still beneath the willow's branches, cocooned in its quiet grace. Their eyes are half closed now, heavy with the weight of calm. The body has surrendered to stillness. The mind drifts unmoored yet completely safe. The night no longer feels like something outside. It feels like a presence within vast, tender infinite. A faint breeze begins to stir again, gliding through the meadow. It carries with it a cool whisper of water and earth, mingled with something faintly floral, the hidden scent of night-blooming flowers that open only under moonlight. Somewhere near the edge of the pond, a patch of wild jasmine sways its blossoms, glowing softly in the pale light. The fragrance is delicate, like a memory half-remembered, sweet, pure and fleeting. It mingles with the scent of moss and dew, filling the air with quiet grace. The willow's branches respond, bending slightly as the breeze passes through. Each strand sways in a fluid rhythm, brushing one another, with soft rustling sounds and endless whisper that seems to speak directly to the heart. It's a sound that doesn't demand attention. It invites surrender. It feels as though the world itself is rocking gently, as if the earth were a cradle and the night a song. A single droplet of dew slides from one of the willow's leaves, falling slowly through the air until it meets the pond's surface. The sound is barely audible, a tiny, perfect note in the stillness. A ring of ripples spreads outward, delicate, even unhurried, before vanishing into the silver light. That moment, brief and unnoticed by all but the willow, carries the fullness of peace. It is the smallest action imaginable, and yet it holds the entire world's calm within it. The figure's breathing mirrors that rhythm. Each inhale draws in the cool sweetness of night. Each exhale releases the remnants of the day. There is no effort now, no separation between action and rest. The body breathes as the pond breathes, as the willow breathes, as the entire meadow breathes, one quiet organism in perfect harmony. The boundaries between self and world continue to soften until they are almost gone. The moon drifts slowly westward, and its light takes on a more muted tone. Where once it was bright silver, it now carries a touch of warmth, a prelude to dawn's eventual approach. The air thickens slightly, touched with moisture. A veil of mist begins to move again, rising in low curls from the water's edge, wrapping itself around the willow's roots. It moves with such patience, as though reluctant to disturb the peace it guards. When it passes across the figure's arms and face, it feels cool and soft, a tender brush that lulls the senses even deeper toward rest. Somewhere in the meadow, a night bird stirs. Its wings rustle softly as it moves from one branch to another, then settles again into quiet. Even its brief flight feels unhurried, like a thought gliding across a still mind. Above the stars continue their silent shimmer. They appear more distant now, softened by the rising mist. Yet their presence feels closer, as if the night, seeing the figure so calm, has drawn its lights inward to keep them company. The willow's shadow sways across the ground, slow and deliberate. When the breeze stills, the branches return to rest, hanging motionless, their tips almost kissing the pond's surface. A small cluster of leaves drifts downward, touching the water one by one, each landing with barely a sound. The pond accepts them gently, sending out soft ripples that merge and fade. It feels like the night's way of exhaling. A quiet reflection arises not of thought, but of feeling. That the willow is not merely a tree, nor the pond merely water, but both are keepers of silence. They hold the world's patience. They teach that nothing needs to be rushed, that stillness itself can be enough. The figure's chest rises and falls in agreement, an unspoken echo of the same wisdom. The air now hums with the faint vibration of crickets again, a slow, rhythmic chorus. that seems to match the heartbeat of the meadow. It is the perfect accompaniment to the willow's slow sway and the pond's quiet shimmer. Each sound is balanced, measured kind. The figure leans their head back against the trunk, eyes fully closed now. A soft smile lingers, not formed by thought but by peace itself, finding expression. The willow's branches shift once more, lowering slightly as though tucking the figure deeper into its shelter. The movement releases a faint shower of dew that falls in a delicate arc, glistening briefly before disappearing into the grass. The figure does not move. They simply breathe, letting the cool droplets land wherever they will. The sensation is grounding, almost ceremonial, as though the night itself is blessing this moment of surrender. Now, the world grows quieter still. The sounds have thinned to their essence, the whisper of air, the faint hum of crickets, the occasional kiss of a ripple against the shore. Everything else has folded inward, retreating into silence. The meadow is no longer a landscape, but a presence, vast, soft, and alive. Within it, the figure has become part of its still pulse, no longer a visitor, but a continuation of its breath. The moonlight dims slightly as a thin wisp of cloud passes before it. The shadow that falls over the pond is gentle, diffuse, like a sigh of sleep itself. In that softened darkness, the edges of all things blur willow into sky pond, into air, figure, into dream. For a moment, the world feels weightless, as though floating in its own reflection. And within that moment, calm, infinite, unbroken sleep begins its approach. Not as a descent, but as a merging, a quiet joining with everything that is. The willow sways once more, a final tender motion, as if to say, "It's time." The figure exhales slowly, deeply, completely. The body relaxes into the curve of the earth. The last thought dissolves, and the night, vast and kind, carries everything into silence. The night has entered its most secret hour, that quiet realm where everything living seems to float between waking and dream. The air is cool, almost weightless, and the scent of dew has deepened, rich with earth grass and the faint sweetness of unseen blossoms. Mist lingers low across the meadow, softening its shapes until only suggestions remain. The willow, graceful and steadfast, stands half-veiled in that silver haze, its long branches trailing downward like threads of moonlight woven into air. The pond lies utterly still. Its surface has become a mirror without flaw, a perfect reflection of the sky above. Stars shimmer in its depths as though suspended beneath glass, and the moon's pale circle rests at its center, trembling only slightly from the rhythm of invisible ripples. The willow's reflection hangs beside it, the long lines of its branches forming an image so serene it could be mistaken for the real. Above and below, there is no difference now, only symmetry, as if the world has folded gently into itself. The figure remains resting at the tree's base, body and earth now inseparable. A soft blanket of mist drapes over them. A faint trace of dew sparkles on their hair and sleeves. Their breathing is shallow but steady, a natural rhythm that belongs not to effort but to peace. The chest rises and falls with the same cadence as the slow movement of the pond's reflection. Even the smallest motions of fingertip twitch, a shift of breath, seem like ripples across the surface of stillness. The willow leans slightly forward as if listening. Its branches sway almost imperceptibly, the leaves whispering against each other in tones of silk and shadow. Each sound they make is small and round the hush of movement without intent. The night seems to answer, sending a faint sigh of wind across the meadow in reply. It moves through the grass and over the pond, catching the tops of the reeds, brushing against the figure's cheek with a fleeting coolness. Then it moves on, leaving silence where it passed. The silence is profound, but not empty. It holds the subtle hum of life, the vibration of the ground beneath, the pulse of water within the soil, the far-off rhythm of unseen wings. The figure can sense it even in stillness, that underlying current that never truly stops. It is the breath of the world itself, patient, eternal, endlessly kind. It moves through all things, quietly knitting them together in unseen harmony. In this still hour, thoughts no longer take shape as words. They exist instead as impressions, sensations, warmth, coolness, expansion, ease. The line between the figure and the world has dissolved completely. There is no observer now, no tree or pond as separate things. There is only presence, infinite, unbounded, resting upon itself. The moon slips slightly westward, changing the angle of its light. The branches of the willow catch that shifting glow, their edges gleaming briefly before fading again into shadow. The silver reflections on the pond deepen to shades of pewter and soft blue. Every few moments, a drop of dew releases from a leaf, falling silently through the air. Some vanish into grass. Others meet the pond, sending rings of motion outward. Each ring grows wider, fainter, and then disappears entirely, the surface smooth once more. Watching this small rhythm, the night seems to learn the art of peace. The figure's breath slows even further now. Each inhalation feels almost weightless, each exhalation like a sigh of surrender. The body has yielded completely to gravity, resting in perfect alignment with the earth's slow heartbeat. There is a feeling of being held, supported by something vast yet invisible. The air around vibrates softly, like a low note, sustained just beneath hearing. In this hum, the mind drifts further from form into something larger and formless, a silence that does not feel empty but full. A firefly passes near the willow's base, its faint light tracing an arc across the mist. It hovers for a moment near the figure's still hand, its glow pulsing slowly, tenderly. Then, with a quiet flicker, it moves away, vanishing into the haze above the pond. Its glow leaves a faint afterimage, not on the eyes, but on the heart. A reminder that light, no matter how small, is always enough to guide through darkness. Somewhere, a reed bends, sending out a faint rustle like the turning of a page. The air stirs briefly and then stills again. All around the meadow has become a single breathing organism, vast yet intimate, existing beyond the measure of time. The willow's leaves glint faintly in the moonlight, each one a silver sigh. The tree's roots stretch deep into the damp soil, touching the cool veins of the earth. It feels as if even those roots are listening not for sound, but for stillness. The figure, still resting against the trunk, seems to sink deeper into dream. Images drift through their mind, not visions, but sensations. The coolness of water, the warmth of light, the weight of the earth's quiet. These sensations weave together like threads of silk, forming no story, no sequence, only a feeling of endless safety. A gentle awareness spreads the understanding that this moment, exactly as it is, needs nothing added, nothing changed. The night in its quiet generosity asks for nothing and gives everything. The willow does not strive to reach the stars. It simply sways where it stands. The pond does not chase the moon. It reflects what comes. And the figure, once separate, has joined in that same acceptance. Above, the stars seem to dim slightly, not fading, but retreating into softer light. The edges of the sky have taken on the faintest suggestion of gray, hinting that dawn may be waiting somewhere beyond the hills. But here in the heart of the meadow, time remains suspended. The willow holds its breath. The pond lies unbroken, and the figure rests in a stillness too deep for dreams. Every sound, every shimmer, every breath has slowed to the same rhythm, a rhythm older than the tree, older than the moon, older even than thought. It is the rhythm of being itself. And so beneath the willow's patient boughs, surrounded by silver mist and the soft hum of the world, The night continues its quiet song. Nothing stirs now, but the gentlest sway of leaves, the smallest exhale of air. The figure is motionless, peaceful, complete. The story has not ended. It has only returned to silence where it always began. The night has entered its softest hour, that fleeting time before dawn, when even the stars seem to whisper. Their light is dimmer now, as though they too are preparing to rest. The moon hangs lower in the sky, its edges blurred by the thin veil of mist that still lingers above the meadow. A pale silver hush blankets everything: the willow, the pond, the grass, the quiet figure at rest beneath the tree's gentle canopy. No sound intrudes. Even the crickets have softened their rhythm to the faintest murmur, a low vibration that trembles like distant breath. The willow's leaves hang motionless, heavy with dew. Each droplet glistens briefly in the fading moonlight before slipping down, gathering on the tips of branches and falling soundlessly to the ground. When they land, they vanish instantly into the cool earth, one small return after another, completing the cycle of night. The figure remains still. Sleep has come not as an abrupt surrender, but as a slow merging, a dissolving of edges, a fading of self into softness. The chest rises and falls in long, languid waves, each breath blending into the quiet rhythm of the world. The pulse, faint and steady, seems to echo through the roots of the willow itself, as though the tree and the dreamer now share the same heartbeat. The night accepts this union in silence. The pond lies like polished stone, unbroken, timeless. Its reflection is now dim. The stars above have faded, and the moon's glow stretches faintly across the surface, a silvery memory of its earlier brightness. A few stray leaves float across it, tracing invisible paths. The ripples they create move slowly outward until they reach the pond's edge, where reeds stand tall and still, their slender stalks outlined in the first hint of dawn's blue-gray light. Beyond the willow, the horizon is beginning to shift. The darkness, once so complete, thins by degrees, replaced by the faintest trace of pale warmth. Not yet color, but the promise of it. It touches the tops of the distant hills, first turning their outlines from shadow to suggestion. The air feels different now, not colder, not warmer, but newer, as if freshly made. A bird stirs somewhere within the willow's branches, feathers rustling softly. Its small tentative movement feels like the first word of a new sentence after a long silence. The willow responds to the change. Its branches sway gently, not from wind, but from the slow shift in light, as if the tree is stretching awake after an ancient dream. The leaves quiver, releasing faint droplets that shimmer and vanish. Their movement sends a ripple of quiet sound, a delicate sigh, the night's final exhalation. The figure beneath remains unmoved, wrapped still in the calm of rest, untouched by the gathering light. Around the pond, mist continues to drift, lifting slowly from the water's surface. It curls upward in long, graceful ribbons, then thins, revealing the faint sheen of reflected dawn. Each strand catches light differently silver, where it meets the moon pale gold, where it touches the first breath of morning. The two worlds overlap for a moment, night not yet gone, morning not yet begun. It is the hour between when the universe holds its breath, when the heart of stillness reveals itself most clearly. The figure's breathing deepens, guided by something unseen. Dreams move quietly through the mind, not of people or places, but of sensations. Water touching skin branches, brushing air, the cool scent of moss beneath the tree. Each dream drifts through like mist, through open space, forming, dissolving, forming again. Within this soft continuity, even memory seems unnecessary. There is no need to remember peace when one is peace. The willow continues to watch its roots sinking deep into the soil, its branches heavy with patience. The pond reflects its quiet vigil faithfully, a mirror of still devotion. Between them, the figure rests in the center of their companionship, a soul entrusted to night's care. Time itself has grown tender here, stretching thin, transparent, unmeasured. Only the steady pulse of existence remains flowing in endless rhythm beneath the hush. A light breeze returns this time, carrying a hint of warmth, the faint foretelling of sunrise. It moves through the meadow, softly caressing the tall grasses and stirring the last of the mist. The willow's long arms sway again, their motions slower now, almost ceremonial, as if bowing to the coming dawn. Each movement is graceful, deliberate, a gesture of gratitude for the night that is ending and for the stillness that remains. The pond glows faintly at its edges. The first touch of color, a fragile line of rose and amber, appears in the distance, tinting the reflection on the water. The transition is nearly imperceptible, more felt than seen, like the slow bloom of warmth beneath the skin. The willow, the pond, and the resting figure all seem bathed in that soft, awakening light. Still asleep, the figure shifts slightly, a small movement that sends a few stray leaves sliding from their shoulder to the ground. The sound is delicate, a dry whisper, the language of rest continuing. The breath steadies again, and a faint, peaceful smile remains. If dreams could speak, perhaps they would sound like this, the world breathing, the tree swaying, the pond whispering back. This moment holds its own kind of holiness, the meeting of night and day, silence and song, breath and stillness. The willow knows it well. It has witnessed this meeting countless times in countless seasons. And yet, each dawn feels new, a continuation, not a repetition. In this rhythm, the figure's rest becomes part of something eternal, the world's cycle of surrender and renewal. The sky brightens another shade, and the mist grows thinner. The stars retreat beyond sight, leaving only their faint echo shimmering on the pond's glassy surface. The willow's branches gleam faintly gold at their tips, now the first threads of sunlight catching there. It is a quiet promise that peace once found does not end with night. It carries forward softly into morning. The meadow breathes again. All that lives the tree, the pond, the earth, and the dreamer moves gently toward awakening. But not yet fully. For one last perfect moment, the world remains suspended between dark and light, still wrapped in the hush of the willow's embrace. The night sighs, the dawn listens, and everything rests exactly as it should. The first breath of dawn moves tenderly across the meadow. It carries warmth this time, faint like a distant memory, returning soft enough not to disturb the silence that still lingers. The sky at the horizon has begun to glow, brushed with fragile colors, rose pale amber, a hint of silver dissolving into blue. The stars fade slowly one by one, their light retreating into the quiet vastness they came from. Above the pond, the last remnants of mist drift upward and vanish, leaving the air clear, clean, and full of hush. The willow stands in luminous stillness. Each branch holds 1,000 beads of dew, each droplet trembling at the edge before falling. When they drop, they leave tiny circles on the pond's surface, ripples so faint they seem more imagined than seen. The light catches in those ripples and scatters into gold like whispers of morning blessing the night's calm departure. Every leaf gleams softly, washed in the new glow, shimmering as though the dawn itself had chosen this tree as its first home. The figure beneath the willow stirs, not waking yet, but shifting slightly. A small adjustment of breath, a deeper inhale, the gentle stretching of fingers against the cool ground. The body knows that morning has come, though the mind remains in the tender threshold between sleep and awareness. The heartbeat remains slow, serene, untroubled. The willow's branches sway faintly overhead, moving in rhythm with that quiet pulse, as if cradling the sleeper through the final moments of the dream. Light continues to gather. It flows across the grass, revealing colors that had hidden in the night. Soft green, silver gray, the pale blush of tiny wildflowers opening their faces to the sky. The meadow breathes anew the scent of dew and fresh soil rising with the light. Bird song begins gentle and scattered, one call from the willow's branches, then another farther off, then another, until the air hums with small, pure voices. Their tones overlap but never clash, each note finding its own space in the expanding hush. The pond mirrors the transformation. The reflection of the willow gleams golden, now its edges clear and bright. Small ripples move outward where fish break the surface, sending brief flashes of silver through the water. The entire scene glows with that soft golden stillness that belongs only to early morning, a stillness that feels alive, quietly awake, yet never hurried. The night's cool serenity has not vanished. It has simply shifted its form, carrying peace into the warmth of a new day. The figure's eyes flutter open. At first, they remain unfocused, filled with light and shadow, the soft blur of dawn weaving its way into awareness. Then slowly, gently, the world takes shape. The willow's graceful silhouette above the pond, glinting nearby, the sky stretching vast and tender beyond. The figure breathes in, and the scent of morning fills the lungs. Wet grass, sunlight, just beginning to warm the air, a trace of distant flowers. It feels like inhaling peace itself. They remain still for a while longer, not rushing to rise, simply resting within the cocoon of the willow's embrace. There is no separation now between the dream and the world, only a soft continuation. The calm that settled through the night remains within, anchored, deep, unmovable. The figure looks toward the pond and watches how light moves upon its surface, never in haste, always returning to stillness. It feels like a reflection of their own breath motion, returning to rest, rest returning to motion. One hand brushes over the grass, gathering a few fallen willow leaves. They are cool and damp edges, softened by dew. The figure turns one leaf slowly between the fingers, tracing its thin veins, then lets it fall again, watching it drift lightly onto the ground. It lands beside the roots of the tree, rejoining the quiet cycle it came from. In that simple gesture, everything feels complete. The night, the rest, the letting go. The willow sways in the soft wind, a graceful bow to the morning. Its leaves rustle faintly, not with the lullaby of night, but with the gentle rhythm of renewal. The figure lifts their gaze to the canopy above. Sunlight filters through in long ribbons, painting patterns of gold and green across their face. Eyes close again, not in sleep this time, but in gratitude. A small smile touches the lips, and the chest rises in a long, peaceful breath. For a brief moment, The world seems perfectly balanced, light and shadow, sound and silence, stillness and life. Nothing is out of place. The pond shimmers, the willow whispers, the air glows softly, and the figure remains there, held by the embrace of morning. The peace that was found in darkness has not vanished with light. It has only changed its color. It will linger through the day, hidden in the breath, the heartbeat, the simple rhythm of existing. As the sun lifts higher, the willow's shadow shortens. The last threads of moonlight fade completely, leaving behind only warmth. The night story, whispered through rustling leaves and rippling water, settles now into silence. A silence filled with life. And though the dream has ended, its echo remains a memory shaped not by words, but by the feeling of stillness itself. The figure stands at last slowly with ease. Hands brush over the bark of the willow in quiet farewell. The trunk feels alive beneath the palms, rough, warm, solid. A final breath is drawn full and steady, the kind that carries both endings and beginnings within it. The meadow stretches before them, bright and new, but behind the willow stands eternal keeper of all that is calm. As the figure walks away, the sound of leaves rustling follows faintly behind a gentle farewell, a promise that peace is never truly lost. It lives here beneath branches that remember, within waters that reflect, and inside hearts that once rested long enough to hear the world breathe. The day has begun, but its roots remain in night's quiet gift. The willow shimmers once more in the sunlight, its branches swaying in contentment, its reflection serene upon the pond. And for a long, lingering moment, the meadow glows, a space between dream and waking, between breath and silence, where everything once more is at peace. Sleep well, dream softly, and may the night hold you kindly.